What's going on, guys? Stefan with you, S&E's Garage. Today we are here with our '07 Camry here with a P0171 system lean code, and we're going to start the diagnosis of this vehicle today. So the issue that we're having with this car is it is setting a lean code. It does have a couple of other different drivability concerns that are kind of pointing me in the direction that I need to be looking, but we do want to rule everything out here. So the car, when I purchased it, came with this junk aftermarket mass airflow sensor. We went ahead and swapped that out for a quality OEM Toyota unit, so we are good there. So just to rule out any other issues here with the intake, whether that be vacuum leaks or anything of the sort, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to smoke test this thing today, and we're going to look for smoke leaking out of different areas of the intake, whether that be the intake manifold, vacuum hoses, etc. Now, if everything here checks out and I have no vacuum leaks, that's going to point me in the direction that I think I'm going to be going with this repair, and that is the fuel system. This vehicle has an in-tank fuel pressure regulator that also doubles as a check valve. And what happens with this car is after it sits cold for a couple of hours, it doesn't want to start unless you cycle the key. And that tells me that the regulator that is in the tank is probably no good. And that regulator is paramount to how well this vehicle is going to run. I did just have this running about an hour ago, so I don't know if it's going to do it right now. I actually started it to see if it did do it. I should have got it on camera. But let's just try to start it. Like so. So now if I cycle the key a couple of times to run the pump, it'll start right up. And that's with our new mass airflow sensor. So what that tells me is there's something going on with fuel delivery here. But like I said, we do just want to cross our T's and dot our I's and just make sure that we're not missing anything simple here with the air intake system. So let's go ahead. We picked up this All-Tool smoke leak tester. We got this from Amazon. I will leave one in the video description below. They are paramount to diagnosing vacuum leaks and lean codes and things like that. So let's get it set up. We'll show you where we're going to put it, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys, so we got our smoke machine ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and flick it on. And what we're going to show you here is we should momentarily see smoke, like you see, start coming out of this. So now we're going to go ahead and connect it to the brake booster hose here on our Camry, and we're just going to monitor it. I'm going to grab a flashlight, and we're just going to start looking for any vacuum leaks. One other thing you can do is basically now you're pressurizing this intake. You can take soapy water or something of the sort, and you can spray all of the mating surfaces of the gaskets down, and you can look for bubbles as well. But for right now, we're just gonna try to see if we can see anything with some smoke here. Now you can see smoke here coming out of the air intake duct of the car, so that just gives you an idea of what kind of smoke we're getting through this. Let me see if I can plug that off really quick so we can keep a lookout at the intake manifold. Okay, let's reevaluate, because this is it's going to confuse the hell out of me. I'm going to go ahead and pull the intake boot off, and I'm going to use this rubber glove, and I'm going to throw it over the throttle body. That way we can seal off the intake that way. Okay, guys, so now we have our smoke machine on. You'll see we have our throttle body sealed off with a rubber glove. And we also disconnected back here the canister purge valve where it goes out to the fuel tank. So that is getting pressure. And what we want to do is we want to just feel the outlet of this and make sure that we don't have any air or smoke leaking past it, because if we did, that would potentially indicate an issue with that valve. Now, the only other thing that we have to check that I'm probably just going to replace just to do it in this situation would be the PCV valve. They're cheap enough. I'm going to order one. I'm going to replace it. But now that we're smoke testing it, we're just going to sit here for about 5-10 minutes. We're going to monitor everything for smoke. You see what the smoke looks like now when it leaks out. You saw it before when it started pouring out of the intake. So we're just going to monitor it. And if I don't have any vacuum leaks, then that's going to rule, like I said, basically the whole intake side of things out. As long as we're good there, then we're going to probably either have an issue with, like I said, with the regulator in the fuel pump, or maybe a fuel injector that's leaking down or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and continue down this path of diagnosis. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a fuel pressure tester. I don't really work on enough cars to necessitate, I should say, buying one. So I'm going to be doing this without checking fuel pressure. I'm going to check everything that I can check by process of elimination. And if I get to the point where I've checked all of the boxes, then we're going to go ahead and put that regulator in it, because I think that's going to fix my hard start. So that's going to fix at least one of the problems that we have. But let's just let this marinate, see what happens. All right, guys, so doing this diagnosis is going to be extremely hard if you don't have some sort of a scan tool that can read OBD2 data. It doesn't need to be anything too crazy. It doesn't need to be bidirectional. You just need to be able to read OBD2. So I am going to leave something in the video description below. It's made by Xtool. It is the Advancer AD20. It'll connect right to your smartphone and enable you to do just that. But right now we have our D8 hooked up. And we already went ahead and replaced that mass airflow sensor like we said. And what we want to do is we want to see if that had any bearing here on if this car is fixed or not. So what we're looking at here is our long-term and our short-term fuel trim. And ideally, you'd want this number and this number added together. So long-term plus short-term to be under 10 degrees or 10%. So right now we're sitting at around 2% on the short-term and 17% on the long term. So we're right around 19-20% of added fuel. It's positive. So that means that it is extending the pulse width of how long the injectors are open. So it is still unfortunately running lean. Now what we're gonna go ahead and do, we're going to unplug that canister purge valve. We're going to, or not the purge valve, sorry. We're going to unplug the PCV valve, and we're gonna plug that vacuum hose. And then we're just going to come back over here and we're going to look at trims. We're going to see if they went down at all. If they did not go down, we're going to go ahead and replace the fuel pump. Now, like I said, ideally, I'd want to check fuel pressure, but I've ruled out everything else. We've ruled out any vacuum leaks. We've ruled out that aftermarket mass airflow sensor. We've ruled out any air leaks between the mass airflow and the throttle body with that smoke test. So literally, we have PCV valve or we have fuel pressure regulator pump, whatever. So let me go ahead, let me pinch that line off, and let's go ahead and see what the trims do. So unplugging that PC valve and blocking off that hose has literally made no change. If anything, it's a little bit higher as the engine warms up. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and replace the fuel pump. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and pull this fuse box out, and we're going to find our fuel pump fuse, and we're going to pull it. And what we want to basically do is let this engine die while it's running to relieve any fuel pressure that may or may not be in the lines. So we went ahead and pulled out the 10 amp EFI number 3 fuse. It's going to be right here. And we let the car die. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to remove this back seat. Let me put you up on a tripod and we'll show you how to pull the seat and go from there. So pulling the seat bottom on these cars is super easy. You're gonna follow the seam here from the seat bottom, and you're gonna grab right underneath the seat, and you're gonna give it a quick pop like that. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing over here. Make sure my butt's not hanging out, the plumber's crack. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing. Okay, now we're just going to go ahead and pull this out, set it aside. Now once you've done that, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna see your access there for the fuel pump. we're going to go ahead and get a screwdriver and pry that open. Now this is just held in with some butyl tape here, so you just want to be careful here. You don't want to scratch anything up. Just very gently, you know, go in a couple different spots and pry it up. You don't want to bend it. You want to make sure this is going to seal when you are done. Okay. Now what I like to do is I'll take this grommet here and I'll push it in like this so that I can pull this back. And now we're going to go ahead and very carefully unplug this fuel pump. Now you might need a vacuum or something like that to get the debris and the dirt out of the connector. I'm just going to spray it down with a little bit of WD-40 just so that we can lube it up, and then we're going to pull the connector out. So like I said, we're just going to spray this connector here down, try to get the dirt and debris out of the connector like so. That way we can release it. Now there is also a fuel line here. There is a yellow clip. You're going to go ahead and pull that yellow clip out towards the back of the car. And now at this point, what I like to do before I pull this fuel line is I'll cover this with a rag. So if there is any fuel pressure, it sprays on the rag and not all over me. Just like that, our fuel line is off. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get either an 8 or a 10 millimeter, and we're going to pull the rest of these bolts out here that hold the packing ring in place. Now just beware of the way this fuel pump is clocked. You want to remember this when you go to put it back together. So let me go get my tools and let's pull this out. Now it is worth mentioning, at this stage of the game here, there are fuel vapors in this car. Yes, it does smell like gasoline. So use electric tools at your own risk. I personally, once I get to this point, you know, electric tools, brushless or not, still create, you know, can create arcs, and I'm not trying to get killed here. So from here on out, it's hand tools. But let's go ahead and get these all out. Okay guys, so at this stage of the game, we went ahead and got all of our nuts out here for this packing ring. So we're going to go ahead and remove the fuel pump. It is spring loaded, so just do be mindful that once you break this loose, it might pop up out at you. But let's just go ahead like that, get this out. Okay, so here's your fuel pump assembly. Let me go ahead and get a drain here, and we are going to go ahead and rebuild this basket. Okay, we're just going to stick this right in here, like so, and we'll meet you out at the bench. So here we have basically the fuel sending unit. Here's your level sender, okay? Your regulator is right here, and then your pump is in this basket. And what we are going to basically do in this video is we're going to rebuild this whole basket, because this whole assembly is over $600 with my discount at my local Toyota dealer. And $600 is not in the question when we are doing this to flip. So we're gonna rebuild it. What we have here is a Denso first time fit 950-0205 fuel pump. It's the pump itself, the little pump, and this filter under here, this little sock. And then we have a Delphi, I'll leave one of these in the video description below, FP10529 fuel pressure regulator, this little guy here, okay? And then we have our Spectra fuel pump seal. This is the packing ring that goes underneath the pump to seal for evap leaks. So let's go ahead and unplug this fuel pump. There's a little connector right here up top that we're going to go ahead and have to pull off. I'm just going to use my little pocket screwdriver here and work this out. So you will need two of these, one on each side, to go ahead and disconnect that. That was a real pain in the butt. But now we're gonna go ahead and release these clips here that hold this bracket basically over the basket. Probably should use a pair of needle nose for this, just to pinch these, like so. Okay, we got that one released. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Okay, and once those are both released, we should be able to go ahead and remove it. Like so. Now this basket should, in theory, lift out. And now, just going to go ahead and make sure I can drain it. And everything that we're going to be doing now is looking like it's going to be from under here. So we have this clip here that we need to undo for the regulators. We have this and this. Let's go ahead and remove this regulator and the pump. You are just going to want to try to be careful with this plastic. Just keep in mind it's been submerged in gasoline for however old your car is. But with any luck, you should be able to get these all to release. Here is our original fuel pump. It is actually a Denso unit, so we are replacing this with an OE equivalent. And we can go ahead and remove this fuel pressure regulator here and get sprayed with gasoline in the process. It's a beautiful thing. So now let's just compare the old regulator to the new. Everything here looks to be or about the same. You can see all of our O-rings are in the right place along with the spacers. So let's just go ahead and slide this new one into place. Okay, let's take our new fuel pump here. And open it up. Now the fuel pump did come with a new O-ring here, and just looking at the old one, there's an O-ring in here, so that new O-ring is going to go in the top of the pump. Let's go ahead and open it up. Slide in our O-ring, and now we just have to clock this pump. We have to clock it in a manner that everything here is going to line up. But the first thing that I'm going to do is install this basket here onto the pump. This will actually ensure that it is clocked correctly. And your finished product should look something like this. You'll see all of our clips are in place. So now we can go ahead and slide this basket back into place. And we can take our clip here and make sure that we have it clocked accordingly. And then plug in our fuel pump connector. So this basket is now completely rebuilt with a nice new fuel pump. let's go ahead and find our new packing ring that I have hidden somewhere. Here it is. We're just gonna come under here and we're gonna wipe this area down here off as best we can. And then we're gonna go do the same thing by the fuel pump. We're going to go ahead and make sure that, or by the fuel tank rather, make sure that that area is clean. And then we're gonna go ahead, set this in the tank and slide this in on top of it. So I did very quickly just want to show you that we opted to go ahead and install our packing ring onto the pump instead of the tank. But we're just gonna go ahead and slide this new pump basket assembly down into the tank. And then, like we said before, you want to make sure you have this clocked correctly. So what I'm going to do is just get it right about to where it was. You could just look at the muscle memory of the fuel line, and that'll get you close enough. So now we're going to go ahead and take this packing ring and get it ready to go on. Now you do want to start these by hand. Do bear in mind that you don't need to kill them, you're just snugging them up. And we are going to be tightening these in a crisscross pattern. Go ahead and install your fuel line. And the locking clip. Ow, that locks it into place. Go ahead, put your harness here, plug it in. Okay, line it up as best you can. I'm trying to remember what way this was, but I guess it don't have to be perfect, but we're gonna line this up. You wanna make sure that your butyl tape here seals back up. This actually, no. Probably like that. Okay. And then just go ahead and slide your rubber boot over. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is fire up the car, and we're going to look at our fuel trims. Now right off the rip, what I want you to notice, our short term here is now high negative. We're between 9 and 11% negative. And that's telling us that now it's starting to pull fuel, meaning it's starting to shorten the pulse width of the injectors. So what you're going to end up seeing if we watch this long enough is this 17 is going to slowly drop, and that should be back between 8 and 9%, which under 10% is beautiful for me. So let's just go ahead, let's take a look at this, let's let it idle, and let's see what happens. All right guys, so what you're gonna see here is our short term is slightly negative. You know, it's bouncing back and forth, and our long term has continued to come down. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this fixed. We even went ahead and checked the readiness monitor, so I can show you here if we go back. This will tell us if the computer in the car has checked all of the monitors here. And the misfire monitor has completed, the fuel system, the comprehensive component, the catalyst. Evaporative has not ran yet, but the oxygen sensor and the oxygen sensor heater monitor have also ran. So here in the state of New Jersey, a car will pass inspection with one incomplete monitor, and right now that's what we have. So for all intents and purposes, if we were to take this car through the inspection station right now, it would pass with flying colors. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and call this one fixed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below, let me know if this helped you. Hopefully it did. And we'll see you guys on the next one.